The stars outside the small cargo ship burned like cold fire. In the silence of deep space, Ethan Cole, a lone human pilot, drifted between forgotten trade routes. His ship, the Horizon, was old and scratched, but reliable. Just like him, he was not a soldier anymore. Not a hero. Just a man trying to survive among alien worlds that didn't care about humans. But that night, somewhere beyond the outer rim, everything changed. As Ethan adjusted the ship's navigation, a strange signal appeared on his radar, a faint distress call, weak, repeating every few seconds. It wasn't a common frequency. It was something ancient, royal. An alien, he frowned. That's not a trader's beacon, he muttered. Who's out there? The computer's voice answered, monotone and cold. Unidentified distress code detected. Origin unknown system. Estimated crew, 3 life forms. 3 life forms? That caught his attention. He zoomed in on the signal. It came from a shattered moon, orbiting a dying red star. The moon's surface was cracked like broken glass, and its orbit was unstable. Going there was suicide, but something in Ethan's chest, maybe that old soldier's instinct, wouldn't let him ignore it. He sighed. Fine, let's see who needs saving this time. The Horizon's engines flared blue and cut through the dark. When Ethan arrived, he found wreckage scattered across the barren moon. Pieces of a golden ship were half buried in dust and glowing with faint light. Smoke rose into the thin, ghostly atmosphere. Whoever sent that signal, he said quietly, they're in deep trouble. He put on his suit and stepped out. The silence was heavy, the only sound his own breathing. Then movement, a small flickering light ahead. He ran toward it, and there they were. 3 figures huddled behind the wreckage, tall, elegant, and glowing faintly under the alien moonlight. Their silver eyes widened when they saw him. They were not human. Their skin shimmered with blue tones, their hair moved like it carried starlight. Ethan froze. Aliens. Royal ones, if he guessed right. Their uniforms looked ceremonial, with strange markings that shimmered like constellations. One of them, the tallest, stood weakly. You are human? Her voice was soft but full of command. Yeah, Ethan said, trying not to stare. You're lucky I found you. What happened? The alien's eyes flicked to the wreck behind her. We were attacked, pirates. They wanted us alive. We escaped, but our ship crashed. She looked at her companions, 2 others barely conscious. We cannot stay. They will return, pirates, Ethan muttered. Of course, he looked around. There were scorch marks everywhere, and in the distance blinking red lights, ships approaching. He cursed. All right, princess, no time for talk. Move, the alien blinked. How did you know? You called me human, he said with a small grin. You have that royal tone. Now come on. The sound of engines thundered above them as Ethan guided the 3 toward the horizon. His heart pounded. He didn't know why he was doing this. Helping 3 alien princesses from some unknown empire? That was trouble written all over it. But as they climbed aboard, one of the younger ones, her skin faintly purple, grabbed his hand. Please, she said, her voice trembling. They will kill us. He squeezed her hand gently. Not today. As the hatch closed, laser fire streaked across the sky. Pirates had arrived. Ethan slammed the controls, pushing his old ship harder than ever before. The horizon shook violently, warning lights flashing red. Come on, old girl, hold together. The pirates followed, firing bright plasma bolts that tore through space. Inside, the 3 aliens held onto each other, eyes wide. The eldest turned to Ethan. You are risking your life for us. Why? He didn't look back. Because I've seen enough people die who didn't deserve it. The pirate ships closed in. Ethan's pulse raced. He flipped a hidden switch under the console. The horizon wasn't fast, but she had tricks. Hang on. He fired the flare mines, small spheres of burning light that exploded behind them, creating a wave of interference. The pirate sensors went blind for a few seconds. That was all he needed. He dove the ship through the debris field of a dead cruiser, using its metal skeleton as cover. Plasma blasts tore the wreck apart, but the horizon slipped between the wreckage like a ghost. After what felt like forever, the radar went clear. Silence again. They were safe for now. Ethan leaned back, breathing hard. That was close. The eldest alien, the one who had first spoken, slowly walked toward him. You saved us, human. My name is Princess Alira of the Solan Empire. These are my sisters, Nira and Vea. He nodded. Ethan Cole, ex-freighter pilot, part-time rescuer of royal aliens, apparently. Alira tilted her head, studying him. You should not have come here. The ones who attacked us, they serve the Crimson Syndicate. They will not stop until we are found. Ethan frowned. Then we'd better stay off the radar. Nira, the youngest, looked at him with wide, glowing eyes. Our mother will send an army to find us. Your mother? Ethan asked, half joking. Don't tell me she's... Alira's expression turned serious. She is the Queen of Solan, the ruler of our worlds. Ethan froze. Oh, great. I just saved 3 princesses whose mom commands an interstellar army. Alira smiled faintly. She will want to meet you. He laughed once dryly. Yeah, I'll bet. But deep down a chill crept through him. Because something about Alira's tone wasn't comforting. It was warning. Hours later, as the sisters rested in the cargo bay, Ethan sat alone in the cockpit, staring at the stars. He had done the right thing, hadn't he? He'd saved lives. But the name Solan Empire echoed in his mind. He'd heard it before in stories about power, wars, and entire fleets that disappeared without a trace. And now, somehow he was part of it. He didn't know that far beyond the stars. In a palace of light and crystal, a queen had already felt the pulse of her daughter's distress signal, and had whispered one order to her generals: find the human who touched royal blood. Ethan had no idea that his rescue mission had already started something far bigger than survival. It had started a war. Ethan didn't sleep that night. The hum of the Horizon's engines filled the silence as he sat in the cockpit, watching the stars drift past. The sisters were safe in the back, 3 alien princesses asleep in his cargo bay. He should have felt proud. But instead he felt uneasy. Something about the name Solan Empire kept circling in his head like a ghost. He had heard whispers about them before, powerful, distant, and dangerous. Some said they ruled entire galaxies with light and fire. Others said they had enemies who would destroy worlds to find them. And now he had their royal blood sitting on his ship. He rubbed his eyes and muttered, "What did you get yourself into, Ethan?" Suddenly the console beeped. A transmission was trying to connect. Unidentified source. Encrypted signal? He frowned. That's not good. Before he could block it, the holographic screen flickered, and a glowing symbol appeared. A circle of golden light surrounded by stars. It looked like a crest. Then a voice filled the ship. Calm, commanding, cold. Human vessel. This is the royal fleet of the Solan Empire. You are harboring members of our royal family. Identify yourself. Ethan froze. Oh no. He didn't respond right away. He looked back at the hallway where the sisters slept. If this was the Queen's fleet, maybe it was safe to answer. But something in that voice made him hesitate. He opened the mic slowly. This is Captain Ethan Cole of the freighter Horizon. I found your people stranded on a moon. The voice interrupted sharply. You entered restricted Solan space. You interfered with royal security. Prepare for boarding. Ethan's heart sank. Wait, they were being hunted. Pirates attacked them, but the signal cut off. Silence. Then the radar flashed red. Multiple contacts. Big ones. Ships were coming fast. He rushed to the cargo bay and found Alira already awake, standing tall with her silver eyes glowing faintly in the dim light. They found us, he said. She nodded, calm but worried. My mother's fleet. I can feel their signal. Ethan looked confused. Feel? How? Our bond, Alira explained softly. When one of royal blood calls, the Queen feels it across space. Great, Ethan muttered. Remind me never to help royalty again. Nira and Vea joined them, looking frightened. Will they hurt him? The youngest asked, glancing at Ethan. Alira hesitated. No, not if I explain. But even as she said it, her voice lacked confidence. Ethan grabbed his jacket and checked the ship's controls. All right, Your Highness. We can stay here and let them board, or we can get out of their scanner range. Your call. Alira looked torn. If we run, it may anger the Queen. If we don't, Ethan said grimly. And she's not in a good mood. It might get us all killed. Outside, the dark of space was suddenly filled with light. Massive ships appeared, sleek, shining, and shaped like wings of gold. Each one was larger than a city. Ethan's radar screamed in warning. "They're locking on!" Alira's eyes widened. "She's sending a message." And then the ship trembled. A beam of soft golden light filled the cabin, forming a hologram. Not of Data this time, but of a person, tall, radiant, wearing a crown that glowed like a sun. It was the Queen. Her eyes, bright as stars, looked directly at Ethan. "Human," she said, her voice echoing through the ship. "You have touched what is sacred." "You have my daughters," Ethan swallowed. "Yes, ma'am. They were in danger. Silence. The single word felt like a weight in the air. Even the ship seemed to go quiet. "Why did you help them?" He blinked, unsure if it was a trick question. "Because they needed help." For a moment, the Queen said nothing. Then her eyes softened slightly. "You risked your life for royal blood." "Few of your kind would," Ethan exhaled slowly. "I didn't do it for reward. Just doing what's right." The Queen tilted her head, studying him like a curious creature. "You are human. Your species is known for war, not mercy." He gave a small smile. "We're full of surprises." Behind him, Alira stepped forward. "Mother," she said, bowing slightly, "this human saved us. Without him, we would be lost." The Queen's gaze shifted to her daughters, and her tone softened for a moment. "You are safe. That is what matters." Then she looked back at Ethan. "You will surrender your ship. You are to be escorted to the Solan capital for judgment." "Judgment?" Ethan repeated. "For saving your daughters?" "For interfering in royal matters," the Queen said coldly. "You entered our domain without permission. You will answer for it." Ethan clenched his fists. "So that's how it is." Alira looked alarmed. "Mother, please, he did nothing wrong." The Queen's expression didn't change. "He broke our laws." The hologram flickered and vanished. Ethan stood still for a moment, anger rising. "Well," he said finally, "guess I've been promoted from hero to criminal." Alira turned to him, her face full of worry. "We can explain this. She's strict, but she is not cruel." Ethan shook his head. "Strict? She just threatened to arrest me for saving her daughters." He sat down in the pilot's chair, running a hand through his hair. "I've seen this before. Royalty, rules, and people like me getting crushed in between." But then he looked at Alira and her sisters. They looked lost again, like they had on that moon. He sighed. "Fine, we'll go to your capital. But if they try to lock me up, I'm running." Nira smiled faintly. "You're brave for a human," he grinned. "No, just stupid enough not to know when to quit." As the horizon followed the royal fleet through a glowing warp gate, Ethan stared at the stars one last time. He didn't know what waited for him on the other side. Trial, death, or something far stranger. But deep down, a strange feeling stirred. Something told him this wasn't just a rescue anymore. It was destiny. And somewhere in the golden halls of the Solan Empire, the Queen watched his ship approach. Her advisors whispered in fear. "Why not destroy the human, Your Majesty?" The Queen's eyes narrowed, her voice cold and curious. "Because I want to know," she said softly. "What kind of man risks his life for 3 alien princesses? And does not ask for anything in return?" The warp tunnel shimmered with golden light as the horizon followed the royal fleet through hyperspace. Ethan had never seen anything like it. The walls of the tunnel looked alive, moving like rivers of fire. His ship rattled as if protesting every second of this journey. Inside the cockpit, the 3 alien sisters sat quietly. Their faces glowed faintly under the golden light. Ethan tried to speak, but the tension was heavy, like the silence before a storm. Finally, he said, "So, what happens when we arrive?" Princess Alira looked down. "The Queen will hold judgment. It is the law of our empire. No outsider is allowed to touch royal blood without permission." Ethan frowned. "Touch royal blood? I pulled you out of a burning wreck." "It doesn't matter," she said softly. "Tradition is strict. The Queen follows it above all." Ethan leaned back, sighing. "You know, where I come from, saving lives usually earns you a thank you, not a trial." Nira, the youngest, smiled sadly. "Our world is different," Fea added. "But you won't be alone. We will stand with you." Ethan gave a half smile. "Appreciate that. Just don't let them throw me into a star, okay?" Moments later, the warp tunnel opened, and the Solan capital appeared. Ethan's eyes widened. It was like nothing he'd ever seen. A vast golden world floating in space, surrounded by rings of light and hundreds of silver moons. Gigantic towers rose from the surface, glowing like suns. At the heart of it stood the crystal citadel, a structure so massive it seemed to touch the edge of the sky. Its surface shimmered with energy, alive with millions of lights. "Welcome to Solon Prime," Alira said quietly. Ethan whispered, "This isn't a city. It's a miracle." The horizon landed inside a huge docking bay filled with royal guards, tall, armored beings with eyes like molten metal. They didn't speak. They only watched as the ramp lowered, and Ethan stepped out with the princesses. The air was warm and smelled faintly of ozone. The sound of machines and distant music filled the space. Then a tall figure approached, Commander Tyros, the Queen's personal guard. His armor shone with symbols of power. "Human," he said in a deep, emotionless voice. "You will come with us. The Queen awaits your judgment." Ethan glanced at Alira, but she only nodded. "We'll be there soon," he sighed. "Yeah, great. Lead the way, Metal Man." The commander's golden eyes narrowed but said nothing. They walked through long corridors of light, past soldiers and alien nobles who whispered as Ethan passed. Some looked curious, others disgusted. A few even stepped back as if he were contagious. "Guess humans aren't exactly popular guests," Ethan muttered. Alira whispered, "They think you touched forbidden royalty. In their eyes, it is both crime and miracle." "Miracle," he said. "Yes," she said softly, "because no ordinary being can survive contact with royal energy." "But you did," Ethan frowned. "Royal energy?" She hesitated. "Our bloodline carries power. It connects us to the light that binds our worlds. To touch it without dying means something." He raised an eyebrow. "Something good?" Alira looked away. "Or dangerous." The doors to the throne hall opened. It was vast, so large it could fit 10 human warships. The floor was made of mirrored glass that reflected the stars. The air shimmered with power, and at the far end, seated upon a floating crystal throne, was the Queen of Solon. Her crown glowed like a burning sun. Her eyes, pure white light, focused on Ethan the moment he entered. Everyone in the hall bowed. Ethan didn't. He didn't mean to be rude. He just didn't know the rules. But the moment he stayed standing, the guards tensed, hands moving to their weapons. The Queen raised a hand. "Enough." The hall fell silent. She spoke slowly, her voice like wind through fire. "Ethan Cole of Earth, you have crossed into forbidden space. You have touched the royal bloodline. You must face judgment before the throne of light." Ethan took a step forward. "With all due respect, Your Majesty, I didn't come here to cause trouble. I saved your daughters. That's all. Do you deny touching them?" "I carried them out of a burning ship," he said. "You're welcome, by the way." The court gasped at his tone. Even Alira flinched slightly, but the Queen only stared. "You speak boldly, human," he shrugged. "You're welcome to lock me up after you say thank you." A small smile touched the Queen's lips, so faint only Alira noticed. "Your courage is unusual." Then her expression turned cold again. "You will face the trial of truth. If your actions were pure, the light will spare you. If not, it will consume you." "Consume me?" Ethan asked. "As in burn me alive?" "If you are guilty," she said softly, "the light will decide." Guards surrounded him and led him to the center of the hall, where a circle of glowing symbols appeared on the floor. Ethan looked down nervously. "You sure this is safe?" Alira stepped forward. "Mother, please." "He saved us. This is not justice." The Queen didn't answer. Her eyes glowed brighter. "Begin," she ordered. The circle of light expanded, humming like a living thing. Ethan felt his skin burn slightly, the energy crawling over him. His mind filled with images, flashes of his past. Battles, pain, loss. He gritted his teeth. "What is this?" The Queen's voice echoed in his mind. "The light of Solon reads truth. It knows your heart." The energy grew stronger. His vision blurred. He could see Alira's face, worried, frightened. He heard Nira cry out, "Stop! You're hurting him!" But the Queen didn't move. Then suddenly the light turned white-hot, and then just as quickly it faded. The hall went silent. Ethan stood in the center, smoke rising from his boots, but alive. The Queen's eyes widened slightly. "Impossible." Tyros stepped forward. "No human should survive the trial, Your Majesty." Ethan looked around, breathing hard. "Still here." Guess I passed your test. For the first time, the queen smiled, cold but real. Indeed, the light has judged you. Worthy, the crowd gasped. Alira's eyes filled with relief. But the queen's smile faded as she added, "And that means fate has chosen you, human." "Whether you like it or not," Ethan frowned. "Chosen me for what?" The queen's gaze turned distant, almost sad. "For something that began long before you were born." The guard stepped back. The hall buzzed with whispers. Ethan looked at the queen, confused and angry. "You're not making sense. What's going on?" The queen rose from her throne, her light spilling across the hall. "You saved my daughters, Ethan Cole. Now you carry the mark of Solon. From this day, your life and ours are bound." Ethan blinked. "Bound? What does that even mean?" The queen looked at him one last time and said quietly, "It means human. Your fate now belongs to the stars." The crowd in the throne hall still whispered in disbelief. A human had survived the trial of truth, something no other outsider ever had. The Queen of Solon remained silent, her glowing eyes fixed on Ethan. Ethan stood at the center of the chamber, his chest rising and falling with each heavy breath. The light that had nearly burned him now pulsed faintly under his skin, a soft golden mark on his right forearm, shaped like a tiny star. He stared at it, confused. What did you do to me?" The queen stepped down from her throne. Her voice was calm, but it carried power that filled the air. "The light chose you, human. You are now linked to the royal bloodline. That bond cannot be undone." Ethan frowned. "Linked? You mean I'm connected to you?" "To my daughters," she corrected. "And to me through the light of Solon." He looked down again at the glowing mark. "No offense, your majesty, but I didn't sign up for this." The queen's expression didn't change. "You saved what was sacred. Now you carry the price of it." The princesses hurried forward. Alira knelt beside Ethan, her eyes full of concern. "Does it hurt?" He shook his head slowly. "No, it feels warm, like energy moving through me." He looked up at her. "What does this mean, Alira?" She glanced at her mother, who remained silent, then whispered, "The bond of light is ancient. It joins two beings' life energy. If one is harmed, the other feels it." Ethan's eyes widened. "Wait, so if something happens to me—" Alira nodded softly. "We will feel it too. And if something happens to us, you will." He blinked. "That's insane." Nira tried to smile, though her voice trembled. "You saved us, Ethan. Maybe the light is just making sure we stay connected." He tried to joke, but his voice was shaky. "So I'm stuck with you now?" Vea grinned slightly. "Looks like it." Even in that tense moment, the sisters' laughter broke the silence. Ethan couldn't help but smile, though deep inside unease gnawed at him. Because this wasn't just strange, it was dangerous. Later, the queen dismissed the court. The Golden Guards left silently, leaving only Ethan, the three sisters, and Commander Tyros. Tyros stepped forward, bowing slightly. "Your Majesty, this bond between human and royal blood could be unstable. We should contain him, study the connection." Ethan scowled. "Contain me? I'm not a lab experiment." Tyros ignored him. "He could become a weapon." The queen's gaze stayed fixed on Ethan. "You think I do not see the danger, Commander?" She stepped closer to Ethan, her light casting long shadows. "But the light does not make mistakes. There is a reason it spared him." Tyros bowed again, but his jaw was tight. "As you command, my queen." When he turned, Ethan caught his glare, a warning, silent but sharp. The queen looked back at Ethan. "You will remain in the palace for now." "Under protection. Protection or prison?" Ethan asked. "Both," she said simply. "The bond makes you valuable and vulnerable. If our enemies learn of it, they will come for you," he frowned. "Who are your enemies?" Her eyes darkened, the glow dimming. "The Crimson Syndicate. The same pirates who hunted my daughters. They serve something far worse." Alira stepped closer. "Mother, what do you mean?" The queen turned toward the great window overlooking the glowing city. "There are whispers that the Syndicate serves an ancient power, one that feeds on light. It has been seeking a way into our world for centuries." She looked back at Ethan. "And now it may have found it." Ethan's throat went dry. "You think—" "Because of me?" "Because the light marked you," she said. "You are now part of the Solon bloodline. That makes you both a shield and a target." That night, Ethan was given quarters inside the palace, a room of silver walls, soft blue light, and windows that looked out over endless towers of gold. He should have felt amazed. Instead, he felt trapped. He sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the glowing mark on his arm. It pulsed faintly, matching the rhythm of his heartbeat. He whispered to himself, "What are you doing, Ethan?" Then, without warning, he heard a faint voice in his mind. "Ethan?" He jumped to his feet. "Who said that?" The voice came again, soft, calm, familiar. "It's me, Alira," he froze. "You're inside my head." She sounded surprised. "You can hear me." "That means the bond is strong." He rubbed his temples. "Great, so now we have telepathy too?" Alira chuckled softly. "Only through the light. It connects our thoughts when emotions are strong," he sighed. "This just keeps getting weirder." But she didn't laugh this time. Her voice grew serious. "Be careful, Ethan. There are some in this palace who do not want the bond to exist. They think it's dangerous, unnatural." He looked toward the door where 2 golden guards stood outside. "You mean your commander?" "Tyros is loyal to my mother," she said. "But his loyalty makes him blind. If he believes the light made a mistake, he will try to prove it." Ethan frowned. "And how exactly does someone prove that?" Alira hesitated. "By removing the bond, even if it means killing one of us." Hours passed, but Ethan couldn't sleep. He looked again at the city outside, the glowing towers, the streams of light flowing between them. It was beautiful, but it felt fragile. Somewhere out there, the Crimson Syndicate was still hunting the princesses. And now, because of the bond, they were also hunting him. He touched the mark again. It pulsed faintly like a heartbeat. For a moment he felt something strange, a warmth not his own. It felt like Alira's presence, calm and steady, somewhere deep inside his mind. Despite everything, it gave him a strange kind of peace. Then, an explosion shook the night. The room's lights flickered. The guards outside shouted in alarm. Ethan ran to the window. A dark ship was breaking through the outer defense shield. Black metal, blood-red markings. The Crimson Syndicate. He grabbed his jacket and rushed to the door, but it locked automatically. "No, come on." He slammed the control panel, but it wouldn't open. In his head, Alira's voice screamed, this time full of fear. "Ethan, they're inside the palace." The mark on his arm flared bright gold, burning like fire. Ethan's eyes widened. "Looks like the light's calling me again." He clenched his fists. "Let's finish what we started." The night sky of Solon burned red. Flames spread through the golden towers as alarms wailed across the city. The Crimson Syndicate had come. Their ships rained fire from the clouds, and each explosion made the royal palace tremble like it was alive and afraid. Ethan stood near the window of his locked chamber, fists tight, heart racing. The mark on his arm glowed brighter than ever, burning gold through his skin. He felt something strange in his mind, a rush of fear that wasn't his own. "Ethan, they've reached the inner gates." Alira's voice echoed in his thoughts, sharp with panic. He shouted back, "I'm trapped!" The door sealed. There was a pause, then her voice again, softer now. "Hold still. I'll try to open it from my side," the mark pulsed. A flash of golden light spread through the walls, and the door hissed open. Ethan blinked. "Okay, that's new." He ran into the hallway, smoke filling the air. 2 guards lay unconscious near the entrance, their armor scorched. He grabbed one of their plasma rifles and sprinted toward the throne chamber. Meanwhile, in the heart of the palace, the queen stood tall before her throne, surrounded by blue shields of light. Her daughters were beside her, Alira, Nira, and Vea, each holding a small glowing crystal that hummed with energy. The air shimmered, and crimson soldiers appeared, humanoid but with silver skin, red eyes, and armor that looked like liquid metal. The queen raised her hand. "You dare invade the light's home?" The lead soldier stepped forward, his voice mechanical and cold. "We came for the human. Hand him over and your world will be spared." The queen's eyes flared with fury. "The light chose him. You cannot have him." The soldier tilted his head. "Then the light will die with you." He raised his weapon and the battle began. Ethan burst into the grand hall just as the soldiers charged. He fired the plasma rifle, taking down 2 of them before they even noticed him. The recoil nearly threw him back, but he didn't care. He shouted, "Hey, metalheads! You're not touching them." The queen turned her head slightly, her glowing eyes meeting his. There was no time for words, only a brief nod of approval. Energy blasts filled the air. Alira threw up a light shield to block a shot aimed at Ethan. The impact sent her stumbling back. Alira. Ethan ran to her side, catching her before she fell. The mark on his arm pulsed again, and she gasped. Their bond connected instantly. Ethan felt her pain shoot through him, sharp and electric. He gritted his teeth. We're connected, remember? You get hurt, I get hurt too, she smiled weakly. Then don't let me fall, hero, he smirked. Wasn't planning to, the Queen's voice thundered across the hall. Ethan, the bond amplifies your strength through the light. Use it. He looked at his glowing arm. Use it how? Stop fighting the light, she said. Let it flow. He took a deep breath and closed his eyes. He felt the light spread from the mark through his body, into his heart, his hands, his mind. For a second, he wasn't just a human anymore. He was something else, something brighter. When he opened his eyes, they glowed gold. He raised his hand, and a wave of golden energy burst out, throwing half a dozen crimson soldiers across the room. Everyone froze in shock, even the Queen. Ethan looked down at his glowing hands. Whoa, okay, that's new, Vea grinned. Remind me not to mess with you. But before anyone could speak again, the lead crimson soldier laughed. You think light can save you? Foolish human. He pressed something on his wrist, and the floor cracked open. A massive dark machine rose from below, a tall, armored figure with crimson veins running across its black metal skin. Its face was featureless except for a single glowing red eye. The Queen's voice dropped low. No, not him. Alira's face turned pale. Mother, that's the Devourer, the Queen said. He feeds on light itself. The creature's presence sucked warmth from the air. The golden walls dimmed, the glowing crystals faded, and the Queen's own light started to flicker. Ethan felt it instantly, the bond burning in pain. The princesses gasped, collapsing to their knees. He looked around in panic. What's happening to them? The Queen gritted her teeth. The Devourer is draining their life force through the bond. If he consumes enough light, he will reach you next. Ethan's voice shook. Then I'll stop him. The Queen shouted, You are not ready. But he was already moving. Ethan charged forward, golden energy flaring around him. The Devourer raised its massive arm, striking the floor and sending a shockwave through the hall. Ethan leaped aside, barely dodging the hit. The air crackled where the creature's fist had landed. He fired his plasma rifle, but the blasts vanished before they touched the creature. The Devourer absorbed the energy like smoke. Great, of course that didn't work. Then he heard Alira's voice in his mind again. Ethan, you can't hurt it with metal or fire. You have to fight it with the light. He shouted back, How? Through the bond. Let us guide you. He felt it again, 3 heartbeats echoing inside his chest. 3 voices whispering the same word. Focus. The mark on his arm expanded, covering his whole body with golden lines of light. The Devourer swung again, but this time Ethan raised his hand and caught the blow. Sparks exploded around him. He shouted, Not today! And pushed back with everything he had. A surge of golden light burst out, filling the hall with blinding brilliance. The Devourer roared as its armor cracked and melted under the force, but just before it disintegrated, its red eye glowed one last time, and a deep, inhuman voice echoed through the room. The Queen will come for you, human. She will take what you cannot control. Then the creature vanished, leaving behind only burning ashes. Silence fell. The battle was over. Ethan fell to one knee, gasping for breath. The glow faded from his body, leaving him trembling. The Queen approached him slowly. You should not have survived that. Ethan looked up at her, exhausted. Yeah, I get that a lot. She studied him for a long moment. The light within you grows faster than it should. It could consume you if not guided. He nodded weakly. Then you'd better teach me how to control it. The Queen's gaze softened for the first time. You have courage, human. But courage alone will not be enough for what comes next. Ethan frowned. What do you mean? Her voice lowered. The Devourer was only the beginning. The one who commands him is already awake. The air around her darkened as she whispered the name. The Queen of Shadows. The palace was quiet now, but it was not peace. It was the silence that came after a storm. Fires still burned in the distance, and the golden towers that once shone like sunlight were covered in smoke and ash. Ethan stood on the balcony of the royal hall, looking at the red sky. His hands were still shaking from the battle. The golden marks on his arms flickered weakly, fading in and out like dying embers. Behind him, Alira walked slowly. "You should rest," she said softly. "The power you used nearly killed you." He smiled a little. "Feels like it did." He looked at her, concern on his face. "Are your sisters okay?" Alira nodded. "They're weak but alive." "You saved us again," Ethan sighed. "I didn't do it alone." She smiled faintly, stepping closer. "You never will." Their moment was interrupted as the air shimmered and the queen appeared, tall, graceful, but her light dimmer than before. Her golden aura was cracked, flickering with faint dark lines spreading through it. Ethan noticed immediately. "You're hurt." The queen lifted her hand. "It is not my wound that worries me. It is what's coming." She walked toward the throne, her steps slow, almost heavy. "The Devourer's death sent a signal. Now she knows you exist," Ethan frowned. "She?" The queen looked up, her eyes glowing faintly. "The Queen of Shadows." "My sister." The room went silent. Even the air seemed to freeze. Alira's voice trembled. "Mother, I thought she was gone." The queen shook her head. "Banished, yes. Destroyed, no." Ethan stepped closer. "So she's like you. But evil?" The queen's voice grew dark. "She was once like me, a guardian of light. But she fell, consumed by envy and power. When the universe chose light, she turned to darkness. She created the Crimson Syndicate to steal the light from others." Ethan rubbed his neck, thinking. "So the Syndicate, they work for her." "Yes," said the queen, "and she will not stop. Not until she takes the light from you, Ethan." He blinked. "From me? Why me?" The queen turned to face him fully. "Because the bond has chosen you in a way it never should have. A human cannot contain that much light without becoming something else." Ethan stared. "Something else?" The queen looked away. "Something powerful. Something dangerous." As she spoke, the mark on Ethan's arm flared suddenly, brighter than before. Golden light spread across his veins, and pain shot through his body. He fell to one knee, gasping, "Ethan!" Alira rushed to him, holding his shoulder. He gritted his teeth. "What's happening?" The queen's face turned pale. "It's starting. The light is trying to merge with your human form." "It's unstable." Ethan's voice cracked. "Can you stop it?" "I can guide it," she said, stepping closer. "But you must trust me completely." Ethan looked up, breathing hard. "Do it?" The queen placed her glowing hand on his chest. A rush of golden energy surrounded them both, the air humming with strange symbols. Ethan felt like his heart was being torn apart and rebuilt at the same time. For a few seconds, he saw flashes, memories that weren't his. A war among the stars, two sisters, one of light and one of shadow. A throne divided, a promise broken, then darkness. When he opened his eyes, he was no longer in the palace. He stood in a place that looked like the edge of space, a black void filled with glowing dust and distant stars. A woman stood before him, tall, covered in flowing armor as dark as midnight. Her eyes glowed red, and her smile was calm, almost kind. "Finally," she said, her voice smooth as silk. "The human who carries the forbidden light." Ethan froze. "You're her?" The woman nodded slowly. "Yes, I am Sarathia, the Queen of Shadows." She walked around him like a predator circling its prey. "You should not exist, human. The light belongs to the chosen, not to your kind." Ethan clenched his fists. "Then why did it choose me?" Sarathia stopped, her expression turning cold. "Because the light is dying, and it is desperate." He frowned. "What do you want from me?" She smiled. "To save you from it." Ethan stepped back. "You mean take it away?" Her smile faded. "You misunderstand. The light will consume you soon, but I can take it from you, gently." Her hand lifted, black smoke curling from her fingers. "You don't have to fight anymore, Ethan. Just give in." Ethan's body shook. The mark on his arm burned painfully again, the golden glow flickering. He could feel her pulling at it, trying to drain it out of him. But deep inside, he heard another voice, soft and familiar. "Ethan, listen to me. It's not real." Alira's voice, he gritted his teeth. "You're not taking it from me." Sarathia tilted her head. "Then you will die with it." The shadows behind her twisted into monstrous shapes, their eyes glowing red. Ethan looked down at his arm. The mark pulsed, but weaker now. He clenched his fist. "If this light is dying, Then I'll use what's left. He raised his hand, and the mark exploded in golden energy, scattering the shadows like fire through smoke. Sarathia hissed, stepping back. Her red eyes glowed brighter. You dare defy me? Ethan's voice was steady now. I'm human. We don't bow to darkness. The space around them shook. The void cracked like glass and light burst through. Ethan gasped and woke up back in the palace. Alira was holding him, eyes full of tears. You were gone. You disappeared for minutes. He sat up slowly. I saw her. The queen looked at him sharply. Sarathia? He nodded. She tried to take the light. The queen's expression darkened. Then it has begun, Ethan frowned. What has? The war between light and shadow, she said. And this time, human, you are at the center of it. He looked down at his arm, the mark now pulsing in rhythm with his heartbeat. For the first time, it didn't hurt, it felt alive. He stood slowly, his voice calm but determined. Then I guess I'd better learn how to fight. The queen gave a faint, proud smile. Then you must be ready for what comes next. For she will not come alone, Ethan narrowed his eyes. Then I'll be waiting. The queen turned away, her voice a whisper that sent chills through the hall. No, human, you won't have to wait. She's already here. And at that moment, the sky outside turned black, completely black. The stars vanished. The air grew cold, and a voice echoed across the sky, soft, cruel, and powerful. Hello again, sister. The world of Solon was wrapped in darkness. The sky, once filled with golden light, had turned into a swirling black storm. The stars had vanished. The air was cold and heavy, and the city's towers stood like shadows of their former beauty. In the throne room, the Queen of Light stood at the center, her aura dim but steady. Beside her were Alira, Nira, and Vea, weak but ready, and across from them stood Ethan, his golden mark glowing like a heartbeat in the dark. They could all feel her presence before she even appeared. A soft wind moved through the hall. Then a voice whispered through the air, sweet and cruel. You kept my throne warm, sister. Out of the darkness she stepped, Sarathia, the Queen of Shadows. Her armor shimmered like liquid night, and her red eyes glowed with hunger. She smiled as she walked forward, every step echoing like thunder. Still protecting the weak, she said, looking at her sister. Still letting light blind you? The Queen of Light raised her head. You bring death wherever you walk, Sarathia. You've lost what little soul you had left. Sarathia laughed softly. And yet, your precious human carries the very thing I need. Tell me, sister, what will you do when he burns from the inside? Ethan took a step forward. You'll have to go through me first. Her eyes turned to him. Oh, I intend to. Without warning, Sarathia raised her hand and the shadows struck. Dark spears shot from the floor, tearing through the golden walls. Ethan jumped aside, rolling as the ground exploded behind him. The Queen of Light raised a shield of pure gold around her daughters, but cracks spread across it under the pressure of Sarathia's power. Ethan fired a plasma rifle, but the energy vanished before it reached her. She smiled. Light can't touch shadow, boy. Then maybe it's time I stop being light, Ethan muttered. He reached out, focusing on the mark. The glow spread from his arm to his chest, his veins lighting up like golden rivers. The ground shook. Wind swirled around him. The Queen of Light's voice echoed in his mind. Ethan, be careful. You cannot control both forces. He gritted his teeth. Maybe not. But I can try. He slammed his hands together, and light and darkness clashed inside him. His scream echoed across the hall as waves of energy blasted outward, throwing both queens back. When the light faded, Ethan stood in the center, half his body glowing gold, half wrapped in dark shadow. Alira gasped. Ethan, what have you done? He looked at his hands, one bright, one black, and said softly, I just evened the odds. Sarathia smiled, almost impressed. So the light trusts a human enough to share its throne. How foolish. She raised both hands, and the air filled with shadow blades. Ethan didn't move. He let them come. At the last second, he raised his arm, and golden fire burst outward, burning through the shadows. The two forces collided again and again, light and dark twisting together, tearing the air apart. Every strike shook the ground. Every blast left craters in the marble floor. The Queen of Light joined the fight, her staff glowing like a sun. She struck her sister again and again, shouting, "You were my blood, Sarathia!" "Why did you choose this path?" Sarathia screamed, her voice filled with rage. "Because you were chosen, and I was not." Their power clashed, filling the hall with gold and red lightning. Ethan staggered forward, exhausted. He could feel the bond burning inside him. His heart pounded like it was on fire. He shouted, "Stop it! You'll destroy everything." Neither of the queens listened. The sisters were locked in fury, their energy consuming the palace around them. The roof cracked, the walls melted, and the planet itself began to tremble. Alira ran to Ethan, grabbing his hand. "We have to stop them." "The bond, you can use it." He looked at her. "Use it how?" She pressed his hand against her chest, her eyes glowing faintly. "Join with us. All four of us together, we can end it." Ethan nodded. "Let's do it." The three princesses placed their hands on his shoulders. Golden light surrounded them all, pulsing in rhythm with his heartbeat. The mark on his arm expanded, covering all of them in the same light. The Queen of Light looked up as she saw the glow. "Ethan, no." But it was too late. Ethan raised both hands, the light and shadow swirling around him. He stepped between the two queens as their powers struck, catching both in his body. The impact was blinding. Pain shot through every nerve, but he didn't stop. He screamed as golden and black light spread out in a massive wave, freezing everything in place. "Enough!" he roared. "This ends now!" For one moment, time itself seemed to stop. The two queens stood frozen, one of light, one of darkness, facing the same human who dared stand between them. Then, slowly, the darkness began to fade. Sarathia's red eyes dimmed. Her armor cracked. She looked at her sister, sadness replacing rage. I still protect them," she whispered. "Always," the Queen of Light replied. Sarathia smiled faintly as her body dissolved into dust, carried away by the wind. The light has won, and she was gone. The palace was quiet again. The storm had vanished. The stars returned, shining brighter than before. Ethan fell to his knees, barely conscious. The mark on his arm slowly faded until only a faint scar remained. Alira knelt beside him, tears in her eyes. "Ethan, you did it," he smiled weakly. "Guess we finally got some peace." The Queen of Light walked to him, her expression full of sorrow and pride. "You have done what even I could not. You brought balance to what was broken." He looked up at her. "What happens now?" She looked toward the horizon. "Now the light must rest. And so must you." Ethan frowned. "Rest?" Her voice softened. "The power you used cannot stay in a human body. You will sleep until the stars call you again." Alira gasped. "No, there must be another way." Ethan smiled faintly, placing his hand on her cheek. "It's okay. I'm not afraid." He looked at the Queen. "Take care of them." The Queen nodded. "Always." Golden light surrounded Ethan, lifting him slowly into the air. His body shimmered, breaking into countless tiny sparks that floated upward, joining the stars above. Years later, under the same golden sky, Alira stood on the same balcony where he once watched the stars. She looked up, whispering softly, "We never forgot you, Ethan, the human who carried the light." And far above, one star shone brighter than the rest, a golden star that pulsed like a living heart.